Well, hey, everybody. Welcome. It's Monday. I love Mondays. It can be an unpopular opinion, but I love it. I used to not love it, but when you get a strategy and a system in place and you're not starting your week over and trying to find those sales and trying to figure out how this works, but you actually have a plan, a short term plan and a long term plan, Mondays aren't so bad after all. Here's what else I love about Mondays is here we are, we're live streaming in the Zoom room, which by the way, hi everybody, nice to see you guys on social media. If you want access to the Zoom room where you can get the workbook and the board is facing the right direction and those kind of things, Emily will drop that Zoom room because we're live streaming in the Zoom room. We're live streaming on LinkedIn. We're live streaming on Instagram. It's so great to see everybody. And I'm not the only one that loves Mondays, okay? Because we rolled in to this Zoom room and started it up today, and there were people waiting to get in. And that was like 10 minutes before. And so everybody who was out there in the Zoom room waiting for us to get that fired up at 10 till we even started today, those are the kind of people I like to work with. Those are the kind of people that have a plan, they know what they want, and they're ready to get it. And they are not going to sit around and wait, because the sitting around and waiting game, it's going to keep you small for a really long time. And I experience this a lot with clients of mine. They'll come to me and they'll say, Lindsay, I just did a TED Talk, or I was just on this really big stage, or I've now just published several books, or I have, been on some of the biggest podcasts. And I always think, Lindsay, that it's time that my ship comes in, that finally I will be the most well-known name in the industry and people will be throwing their money at me and I'll be able to make sales so much easier. But the fact is, it's none of those things. It's not where the stages you speak on or the podcast you're on or getting certain media placement or whatever these bright and shiny lights are. Those are great. But if you don't know how to use it, it is just a flash in the pan for you, and you won't be able to utilize all this great PR and these website and these media placements and all these things that you're at unless you know how to utilize it. As I mentioned, I've been on Netflix, okay? Same kind of thing. Like you're on this big, huge stage in front of millions and millions of people. My Netflix show was trending on number one on Netflix for days. And if you don't know how to use that kind of like notoriety and that kind of PR, and you don't have a strategy and a plan, you will always be sitting and hoping and waiting that it's finally time for you. Finally time for things to get easier. Finally time for you to be able to build this legacy business. But so many people just sit around and wait. You wait till after the election. You wait till you feel better. You wait till you don't have to care for your aging parents. You wait till your kids are older. This waiting game, it just won't work anymore because there will always be something to wait for. Now, most people who really want to run a multi-7-figure business, okay, lots of people try that. Lots of people have that dream. Lots of people feel like this is in the cards for them, but very, very few people succeed. And I would say that the real difference is it's the difference between the people who are hoping and praying and think it's just going to come and the individuals that wake up every day and they are going to do what it takes. They're going to make it happen. They have a strategy and a system in place where they can take those lofty goals of being amazing and having this multi-7-figure business and all of these great goals and actually be able to boil those down into daily, weekly, and monthly tasks and be able to make decisions for that are not emotionally based, that you are actually making decisions based on numbers, that you actually are making decisions without just what you think you should do today. It's the biggest thing that keeps people small. It's the thing that gets them on my phone 5 years later and says, hey, Lindsay, I am now again on your phone call. You're right about everything you said. I haven't been able to get out of my own way. I don't have the tools and the strategies to make this work, and I'm finally ready. My recommendation to you, okay, is don't wait those 5 years. Don't try to figure all this out by yourself. During this workshop, we've offered you a mechanism where we can actually get our hands on your business and help you see clearly how to generate more leads and sales, how to build your business in a systematic way that will actually work, instead of hoping and praying that the next masterclass that you take will finally have the strategy that will make it easier for you. The answer is it won't. Spoiler alert, it won't. That's not how it works. So as we've mentioned, Shauna mentioned at the top of the hour, we do have openings to work with myself and my team. They are open now. And the first step of that is going to be to get on a sales surge strategy session call with me. Now, we don't accept everyone to this call. You need to apply to get on this call because there's a certain person who is at a place in their business and their life that if I get on a 50-minute call with you, okay, you will understand what is getting in your way and you will have you will have a clear way ahead on how to actually achieve your goals. And I help people in a lot of different ways. I have done for you programs. I have done with you programs. I can help you in many ranges, okay? It just depends on where you're at. The first step is going to be for you to fill out a sales surge strategy session call application with me. And then if you're a good fit for that call, okay, if this isn't your first rodeo, if you already have a track record, if you're already ready to really take business seriously, we'll get you on a call with me. That's complimentary, okay? But you have to fill out that application first. Don't make that call. If you're thinking, I don't think that I'm a good fit, I don't think I'm quite there yet, fill out that application, because even if you're not a good fit for the call, we will be giving you that next step. My team and I, we've been doing this for 20 years. You're going to get the next step from us. So what you want to do is fill out that application to get on a social media sales surge strategy session with me. We're going to go over what you've tried, who your ideal client is, who you're trying to target, what you are trying to sell. We're going to talk about how to do that on social media, where you need to be showing up, how you need to be showing up, and how to actually convert those individuals from social and into your programs. So fill out that application. We can help you. That would be step one. Once those spaces are gone, they are gone. I do a lot of traveling. I do a lot of speaking. So once those calendar appointments are gone, they are gone. So now is the time. Okay, fight the resistance. Get on a call with me if you found use in what we've talked about this week. This no nonsense. This is how it is. Mastery of the basics. Then get on that call with me and I will show you where those gaps are in your business. So a big hello to everybody. Today we're talking about, make sure you fill that out, okay? Today we're talking about the calls to clients sales script, okay? And it's really, if you're getting on calls, and I don't care what you sell. I don't care if you sell real estate. I don't care if you sell insurance. I don't care if you sell coaching or consulting. Do not care. If you are not getting on your sales calls or your whatever you call them, your connection calls, whatever you want to call them, without a plan, and you're just getting on and being like, I have so much rapport with people, I'm just going to be, asking them these questions that come to mind and then close them, you're leaving money on the table. You need a strategy and a system on what you're going to ask people when you get them on a call. You need a strategy on what are those questions that I should be asking this person so I know that they make a good client for me, that I'm actually doing the interviewing for these clients and not the other way around. And so for me, when you don't use a script on a sales call, then you're on a call and instead of listening to your prospect, this person who has dedicated some time to getting on a call with you, instead of listening to their problems and to what their struggles are and to who this person is and trying to understand where they're coming from their perspective, which is all you need to be doing as a salesperson, is what perspective is this person coming from? If you're getting on a call without a script, you're not thinking about that. You're thinking about, what is the next question I'm going to ask after they get done answering this? And so there's no way you can be thinking, what's the next question I should ask after they're done answering this and actually having a conversation? And so for a plethora of reasons, you need a sales script, but for this one very specifically, you do, which is you don't want to have to think about what question to ask next, because it means you're not listening to your prospect. And not only that, you should know what questions you need to ask your prospects so that you know that they actually make a really good fit for you in your business and that you can actually help them. So before we hop into the calls to clients sales script, I want to talk again about the 3 S's. It's so important. Most people skip over it. I hammer this in. I talked about this in my best-selling book. Okay. You need the 3 S's. So you always need a strategy when you're going into business. I know you can't really see that very good on Instagram. There you go, Instagram. Okay. Without a strategy, you're going to get burnt out because you're going to keep throwing spaghetti at the wall. You're going to keep wasting time. You're going to waste your potential. Your social media is going to be low on engagement, and you will have no idea what strategy to focus on, and you will continue to be in the same spot forever and ever because you can't think your way into a strategy if you don't have one. If you don't have the depth of experience to create a social media sales system strategy, it's not like you're just going to be able to come up with this out of thin air. And I like to say this, teaching marketing and sales like we do in this 5-day workshop, it's a lot like teaching swimming. One of my favorite jobs growing up was managing a swimming pool, the local Shelley pool. And part of that was teaching swimming lessons. So I come from a great deal of expertise here, and teaching marketing is a lot like that. If you had no idea how to swim, and I said, just go watch a couple of YouTube videos on how to swim, no problem, okay? You would watch those YouTube videos and be like, yeah, that makes sense. When I get in the water, I need to move my arms and I need to kick my legs, and suddenly I won't drown. Fantastic. But we all know, hey, everybody, nice to see you guys. But we all know once you get swimming, okay, you watch those videos and then someone pushes you in the deep end, it doesn't matter how many YouTube videos you've watched on swimming, it's probably not going to work. You're probably going to drown if you don't know how to swim and you haven't tried it before, okay? I don't mean to be so morose here on this Monday morning, but the same goes for marketing. It makes sense what I say in this workshop. Yes, it makes sense. But if you do not have, okay, the strategy makes sense. But if you do not have the systems to actually, what do I do when I show up to work every day? What do I do with those systems to make this happen? Then you will not be able to build this business. This is about daily tasks, you guys. I cannot get it through you enough, okay? In order to build this business, you need to know step by step what I do to actually do it. Otherwise, it's like diving into the deep end and only watching a couple of YouTube videos. Okay. And finally, sales. Without a focus on sales, and we're going to be talking about sales today. Okay. If you're saying to yourself, if I only get in front of more of the right clients, then I will close them. I just need to get in front of more of the right clients, but you're not implementing a strategy and a system, and you're not working back from the sale. Who is this person I'm trying to market to? What are their problems? And does my content and everything that happens before the sale actually match that? Then you won't be able to make sales consistently. You won't be able to count on sales, and you'll be in the same situation you are, which is like, I just need some more sales. And so as you're looking to scale, as you're looking to change wherever you're at in your business now and to get to that next level, please be on the lookout for the 3 most important things, which is a strategy and the systems. Get somebody to teach you these systems. Take them from someone. They will take you days and weeks and years to implement on your own, and have a focus on sales. Now, let's talk about sales. By the way, make sure you fill out the application. I see several people hopping on. Applications close tomorrow. The replays come down tomorrow. So if you need to binge watch these, then go get to binging, okay? Because we've given it all away on how to generate high ticket sales on social media. But let's talk about sales here. When you go into sales, know this, okay? If you focus on making sales, then you're going to feel pressure. You're like, where's the numbers? I need to make sales. But if you go into sales wanting to make relationships, and you know this isn't about this call, this is about me connecting with someone, seeing how I can be of service now, and seeing where that goes in the future. If you focus on making relationships, then you're definitely going to make sales. In sales, if you're focusing on wins and losses, well, I won that sale or I lost that sale, then, okay? And if you focus instead of wins and losses, you focus on making relationships, then there's only wins. And so it's really important that you change your mindset when it comes to sales in order to be exceptional at it, in order for it to actually work. Hey, everybody. Nice to see you guys. Tell me how you guys feel about sales. One word in the comments. I would love to know one word how you feel about sales. Now, before I get into my calls to clients sales script, I want to go over sales call mistakes. Okay, people make 3 major mistakes when it comes to sales calls. I'm going to write these down so that you don't make these same mistakes. So, mistake number 1, not prepared. You know this. Where intention goes, energy flows. If you have an intent to be a professional on a sales call and close a sales call and listen to your customer and get the most sales possible, but you show up frantically like, oh, my appointment's right now, pick up the phone and I'm not ready and I don't have my notes and I didn't look them up and I don't know anything, you're going to get exactly out of that what you put into it. And so you want to be prepared. Don't sit and think, what question am I going to ask next? Okay. You want to be like a doctor on these things, and you want to come with a script, and you want to come with an agenda, and you want to come prepared. The second mistake that people make in sales is they talk too much. I would argue that's a pretty good rule of life. Most people talk too much, just between me and you, right? And it will kill you on a sales call. If you're talking too much on a sales call, if you are talking more than 10% of the time on a sales call, then you are over teaching, you're giving way too much information, you're giving free consulting, and you're probably convincing them. You're like overly convincing people. And so you have got to stop talking on a sales call. You need to get off sales calls and ask yourself, how much was I talking? Because there's no reason why you should be talking that much on a sales call unless you're over teaching, consulting, or convincing. And so when you talk too much on a sales call, it overwhelms your prospect. Okay. This is the killer. You give a ton of free information because you think if this person likes me, then they're going to buy from me. False, wrong, doesn't work that way, but you think it will, okay? And you come across as pushy and desperate. The key is to ask the better questions and let your prospect answer. Hey, everybody, nice to see you guys. Thanks for those 1 words. So stop talking too much. 10% is how much you should be talking on a sales call. And that's when you're making your offer towards the end of the call. Okay. Next 3. The next one is not short term. You only have short term thinking for sales. You have to know this. Sales is a long-term game. It is not about that one sales call. Okay. That's why it's so important to track your sales, especially now in this new environment where there's so much competition and AI and people have made so many buying decisions. And now in order for them to invest, it's taking a little bit longer. Maybe it takes a couple of conversations depending on what you're selling. And so if you give up on that first interaction and you're like, oh, that call didn't work out, I quit because I hate being rejected. So I'm going to go hide and pretend that I never even knew this person anyway because of my poor ego, then you're missing out on sales. You actually need to develop calluses and you actually need to view sales as a long game. I've shared this with you when I talk about the invite-only event. The invite-only event isn't about the masterclass or the phone call. It's about the invite to the masterclass and the phone call and any interaction you have with your clientele after that. If you aren't viewing sales as a long game and not and you're viewing it as one interaction, you're leaving money on the table and your prospects are going somewhere else because you're not with them. You're not meeting them where they are at. Okay. So I've shared my calls to client. We're going to get to the calls to client sales script now. I know that's what you guys want is what do you do on this call? And it's so powerful. When people go from making rapport sales calls, which is what I call it. In fact, I have a client, a VIP client of mine, and he was making rapport sales calls and he was closing a lot because he is extremely, he has a lot of rapport, he has a lot of charisma. And you get kind of pulled in and you're like, oh, I do trust this person. But when he first came to me, my VIP, he's a leadership consultant. And he said to me, Lindsay, I close 80% of the people that I have to laugh, but I laugh because everyone says this, but it's never true. Okay. 80% of the people that come to me, I close. And I take down the note because that's what they say. But come to find out, they don't really track that. It's more of a gut feeling on this 80% thing. They're only as good as their last 3 sales calls. So if the last 3 closed, then they're going to tell me they closed 100%. But the fact is, when they come in and start working with us in any capacity, we start writing down numbers. And it is, how many sales calls did you have and how many did you close? Now, his real number actually ended up being closer to 30% of closes. When I shared with him my calls to client sales script, that's when we were able to get it up to over 80%. And that is how powerful tracking numbers and actually having a script can be. And I'm going to walk you through it right now. So the calls to client sales script, when we get on a call, this is how I like to line it up. And again, know this about sales before I dive into this. Sales, yes, some of it is rapport. Some of it is, do people like me? But a lot of it is you have to pick up some skills. If you've never really worked on honing your sales skills, if you've never taken sales courses and you don't really understand the psychological triggers of how to clearly communicate to a prospect and how you can show up like without all of your money issues in the way, then you're really missing out. And it's a skill that you need to learn. You're not just going to pick it up. You weren't just born a salesperson. This is just like a skill you need to learn. We teach all of our individuals in all of our programs this because that is how important it is. So here's the calls to client sales script. This is how I handle every call that I get on. Okay. Calls to clients. And as with everything else I do, we have a beautiful little acronym called SCRIPT. Now I call it script because when I tell people to have a sales script, it usually triggers them. So then I really like to name my methodology after that so that it really triggers them. But it triggers them because they feel like their initial thing is, I don't want to be inauthentic. I don't want to read this. And I'm not saying that you need to sit there and read your script. I'm saying you have to know how to handle this call. And I'm going to teach you what that is right now. Okay. So number one is set agenda. We get on the call. We do a little bit of small talk, okay? And then I set the agenda. This is where I am in charge of the call. I set my tone. I set up my authority. I set up my professionalism, my expectations. I say, hey, great. It's so great that you're from Oregon. I am as well. Fantastic. Now, before we dive in, I just wanted to I wanted to set up what to expect on this call. And then I say, I'm going to ask you a series of questions. Through these questions, it's to really get clarity around where you're at, where you're going, and what those gaps might be. How does that sound, Mr. Prospect? And at that point, they'll be like, yeah, let's do that. They'll like that someone is taking control. People like to be led. They don't want to have to think about things. And this sets you up as an authority here. Next, okay, my favorite transition from agenda to the next step is tell me, Mr. Prospect. In fact, you guys should write this down, okay? Tell me, Mr. Prospect, what brought you to this call today? Because you want to know what brought them to the call. Did you say something? Did they read something? This will give you a huge insight as to what their major pain points are. Hey, everybody, nice to see you guys on social today. So we set the agenda. Then I say, tell me what brought you to this call today. And we get to the next step, which is create a gap. This is where you're going to dive into your series of questions so that you actually understand where your prospect is coming from. This has nothing to do with you or what your goals are or what you would do if you were in Mr. Prospect's point. You've got to put all of that away. And instead, you have to create a gap, which means you need to understand where your client is coming from. Okay. Where are they? Where do they want to be? What do they think? What do they think their biggest challenge is? How quickly are they moving in order to actually achieve these goals? You have to know the answers to all of these questions to actually understand where your client is coming from. Now, where people really screw this one up is they get on a call and of course you're talking to your prospect. You can see 25 different problems they have because you're the expert. You're like, oh my gosh, they need a better team. They need better systems. They need a good lead source. They need this, they need that. And like, there's probably going to be so many things that come up for you that this prospect can fix. And it's going to be your natural inclination to list all these out and overwhelm them. Tell them you can fix them all. But the fact is that, and write this down, your prospect will only believe things they say, things that come out of their mouth. They will never believe anything you say. And so your main goal, okay, when you're asking these questions is to understand where your prospect is coming from and how they see it, how they see their biggest obstacle, what they see as where they want to go. So you have to put your own ideas on the back burner, and that's what creating a gap is, so that you understand them. Okay? Say yes in the comments if this makes sense. Next, reflect. And if you've ever been to any good old-fashioned marriage counseling, they're going to tell you to reflect back to make sure, and you're no different with your prospects, to make sure that you are understanding this. Okay, Mr. Prospect, are you telling me that you want to do this, that you've been here, that is your biggest obstacle? Is that right, Mr. Prospect? And you want to be reflecting and parroting back to them what they said to you for a couple of reasons. Number one, to make sure that you heard them right. And number two, to make them feel heard. Next, investigate. This is asking a series of follow-up questions, okay? You want to sell your services by asking questions that have never been asked. We've all been on a sales call before. We all have these gut answers to what happens when I'm on a sales call, okay? And your prospect is no different. They have this like list of answers they give to people. You will close more sales if you ask questions that they've never been asked before. And one of my favorite ways to do this is for more listening, okay? And what I listen for is, did they laugh? Did their tonality change? Did their rate of speech change? Did they start sighing? Because if they do any of these things, that is a telltale sign that there is something there to investigate. And I will always ask a follow-up question if I hear my prospect doing any of these things, because that means there is something there, and it is a huge indicator. Next, prescribe. Now, you're like a doctor on these things, okay? What you don't want to do, like, I'm going to set this up as a doctor. You're not going to go to a doctor and say, I'm having stomach issues, doctor. Just tell me what the prescription is. Now, first of all, that doctor is going to be like, I don't know. I haven't asked you any questions. So we need to create a gap. I need to make sure that's right. And I need to investigate to make sure I understand. And then when it comes to prescribe, that doctor isn't going to say, well, I have this prescription and this could go for 10 weeks, or I have, this prescription over here and it could go for 5 weeks, or I have this really little bitty program over here that might interest you. What do you think? Okay. When you do that and you don't prescribe, meaning you do not make one key offer to this person, you've asked them a ton of questions, you are the doctor, these are your programs, what do you recommend? If you don't have one of these, okay, then your prospect's going to be lost. It's not his programs. He doesn't want to make this decision. He's on this call to be guided by you. And so just like a doctor, you say, based on what we covered here, here, and here, my recommendation is XYZ. And you give them a prescription. You tell them what you think you should do. And this is where you step into your leadership on that. You have to step into the leadership. And then finally is take action. You want to let them know what the next step in the process looks like. So you're going to say, okay, if you choose to sign up today, we can start working on generating high quality sales for you on social media immediately, which will bring more sales into your business and allow you to scale now and before Christmas and into the new year. So the next step would be to get a call scheduled, a kickoff call scheduled with myself and my team. Can we open up our calendars and have a look? And so you tell them what that next action is so that they aren't left guessing. And this is the real critical part of that conversation. This is where you're actually doing that talking. And so when you follow a calls to client sales script like this, you set an agenda and your expertise at the top of the call. You create a gap by asking questions to understand where your prospect is coming from. You reflect back to them to make sure you got it right and you're using the right words and that they feel heard. You investigate based on how they're coming across on the phone, trying to get to that unseen issue of what they're not telling you. And then you prescribe one solution and you tell them what it looks like to take action. You will be able to close more clients when you get on those sales calls. And that's my calls to clients sales script. So sales, okay? Again, I want to remind you, it's different than marketing, okay? Marketing is just like nurturing the audience you have. Sales is actually getting the money from them. These are two separate things. The marketing will not do the sales for you, and the sales will not do the marketing for you. Two separate things, and you need a real focus on sales. That's how you drive revenue. That's how you bring people and close people into your business. And it really is your job as the leader of your company, as you're leading. You are the main salesperson. Okay? So thank you so much for joining me today. Make sure that you go fill out the social media sales surge strategy session form with myself. Okay? That will be a call with me. I would love to chat with you. Again, once those spots are gone, they're gone. We do not accept everyone, but fill out the form and you will get the next step from us. Thank you so much for joining me on this beautiful Monday. We will be back tomorrow one last time with one final training where we go over your punch list. Everything you need to generate sales now, before the season, and into the new year. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to my amazing team. Thanks to everybody for joining me on social and in the Zoom room. I really loved seeing you all this morning. Have a great day ahead.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. And thank you, everyone, for joining us for today's bonus session.